This all happened 3 or 4 years ago, but still shakes me up when I recall the story. I went by myself to the local GameStop a few miles away from my house. After picking up my game, I got back into my car and pulled out of the parking lot to drive home. I immediately noticed that the dirty black Jeep that pulled out of the parking lot at the same time as me was now behind me and driving like a complete asshole. This dude was riding my ass and swerving back and forth like he was trying to get my attention. Although this was very annoying, I wasn't really concerned at this point. I tried merging lanes, but he stayed right behind me, merging along with me. I decided to speed up, and he also made sure to tailgate me at close to 70 miles per hour. I began to panic and took a shortcut through some quiet residential areas. The street was so empty I veered into the neighborhood and ran a stop sign. The black Jeep ran the stop sign as well and was still driving recklessly close behind me. It was getting dark at the time, so I wasn't able to see the driver through the rear view, but his license plate was clearly visible. I immediately called 911 and read off the plate number. The officer told me to meet them at the Ralph's on the other side of the neighborhood where I was heading. It took me about 10 minutes to get there, but it felt like an hour with this creepy weird car lunging behind me. I finally entered the shopping plaza, and I noticed the police weren't here yet. I began to circle the parking lot, and he continued behind me. I circled the plaza 6 times before I saw 2 cop cars pull in. The black Jeep immediately took a turn, drove over a grass divider, and booked it out of the shopping center. One of the cop cars chased him out, and the other met with me to fill out an incident report. I never found out what happened. In college, I worked as a supervisor at our fitness facilities. There were 2 gyms, about a mile apart from each other. One was newly constructed and the other was an original campus building, so it was about 90 years old. It was a summer semester, so we were operating on a limited staff. I was charged with closing the older building for the night, but a nasty storm was coming in, so I sent the other employees home early and I went through the process alone. I had to walk top to bottom in the 4-story building to ensure all the doors and windows were locked, and while I wasn't crazy about it, I also wasn't scared because the building was very familiar to me. I kept in contact with my counterpart at the other building via radio and went about my business. Nothing was out of the ordinary until I made my way to the woman's locker room on the 1st floor. I did my sweep, checking all the shower and bathroom stalls, closing lockers, etc. Something I'd done 100 times before. I had just reached the exit and flipped the light off when I heard the unmistakable noise of a shower curtain being pulled back on a metal rod. I stopped. My heart started to beat faster, and I knew I needed to go back and check even though I didn't want to. I stepped outside, gathered my nerves, and went back in. I flipped on the light and made my way down in the shower bay. I could see the curtain in the final stall was pushed all the way to the left. I questioned whether or not it was actually closed when I walked by the first time, and I pulled it shut again. I walked back to the exit, and as soon as I turned off the light, I heard it again. The sound of a shower curtain sliding on a metal rod. My heart was beating uncontrollably at this point, and I felt my knees get weak. I stepped outside and radioed my counterpart at the other facility, hoping he was going to say someone was playing a prank on me. Instead, he told me that they were closing down because of the weather, and I should try to get home as quickly as possible. With that, I was convinced that no one else was in the building with me. Being the macho 21-year-old that I was, I decided to go back in the locker room and check the shower bay one more time. I flipped on the light, walked to the showers, and saw the same curtain pushed to the left. I quickly closed it and half jogged to the door. As soon as I turned off the light, the sound of the curtain opening met my ears. Suddenly, not feeling very brave, I ran to the main entrance, set the alarm, and ran from the building as quickly as possible. This all happened over the course of a month or two in the beginning of 2015. I am now 22 and I have much nicer neighbors. I live in Nebraska and I had just moved back into my parents' house after a nasty breakup. See, my dad's in the military and had taken a job out of state, so my mom, my dad, and my 13-year-old brother moved away and allowed me to rent the house from them. I had a roommate, but she was one of my sister's friends and very rarely home. I live in a pretty tame neighborhood. It's old and a bit run down, but I grew up there and it's full of good people. Because of this, I usually feel comfortable socializing with those people. The house next door had been empty for a while, until about the middle of May or so, when two white women and two African American men, along with two young boys, moved into the house directly next door to me. It actually turned out to be really nice, because I was in a car accident and they sold me their spare car. Randy was a mechanic and just had it sitting around, but after that, things started to get weird. The other guy, Roger, was probably 6'2" or so, and really broad. He was completely bald and had this huge beer gut that he never missed an opportunity to show off. I immediately got bad vibes from this guy without him even doing anything. You know those feelings that you get when you see someone and you pretty much think to yourself, what a fucking creep? Yeah, that kind of feeling. I had no problem socializing with Randy and Amy. I soon learned that they were a couple and both of the boys were Amy's from a previous relationship. They were both very kind people and very generous. I also learned that Helen, the other girl, was Amy's sister, and she was dating Roger. Now, Helen was tall. I'm talking like 6 feet tall and overweight. And I'm not trying to be mean because I am by no means thin, but this woman did not carry her weight well. Helen had short black hair that was always tied back in a bandana and always wore cut-off jean shorts and ratty black t-shirts. And this chick had no teeth. I mean 0 teeth. I have no idea what happened, but she was all gum, if you know what I'm saying. I never really spoke with her outside of one time, but I'll get to that later. From what I'd gathered, Roger and Helen were more or less mooching off of Randy and Amy's generosity. I heard them screaming at each other at all hours of the night, which was actually really bothersome because I was working 2 jobs at the time, and more often than not wouldn't get home until 2 in the morning and would have to be up again at 6. I guess Helen got arrested for something around this time because she disappeared. After she disappeared, Roger started talking to me a lot more than he had previously, and it wasn't just polite small talk. He kept commenting on how black my ass is, and how he couldn't believe that a white girl had such a black girl's ass, and he always commented on what a workaholic I was, and how that was so attractive. Bear in mind, this is a man in his early 50s. He was always bumming cigarettes off of me as an excuse to strike up some conversation. Needless to say, it made me really uncomfortable after a while. At this time, I was waiting tables at a pretty popular sports bar in town, and I had closed up the restaurant the night before and consequently passed out on the couch in the living room, which is on the first floor, and my bedroom and bathroom are on the second floor. About 7:15 in the morning, I wake up to someone pounding on my door like a crazy person. All I hear is a deep, distinctly male voice calling for me to wake up. I blearily roll off the couch, notice I'm still in my work shirt from the previous night, remember that I am wearing the standard black tank top underneath, peel off my nasty uniform shirt, pull my hair up, and open the door. And who is it but Roger, breathing like he's just run a marathon, eyes bulging out of his head. What a sight to wake up to, right? He breathlessly tells me that he just ran out of cigarettes and he hasn't gotten his check yet, and was wondering if he could bum yet another smoke from me. I, still groggy, and step out onto my porch to have my morning smoke as well. Thinking he will take his smoke and go, I go to sit on my porch, swing, and light up. He follows and sits next to me, and the whole length of his leg, I'm talking hip to ankle, is pressed against mine. Alarm bells are going off, but I don't want to make him angry because he's so much bigger than I am. So I sit in silence, smoking my cigarette. He asks for a lighter. I fish mine out of my pocket and wordlessly hand it to him. He runs his thumb over mine as he takes it from my hand. I've gotten maybe 3 hours of sleep at this point, so it takes me a minute to realize that he's talking. This guy is rambling about how hot I am and how he has this overwhelming crush on me because I'm a workaholic and not in trouble with the law and really hot His words, not mine. He asked me how I feel about a man with grandchildren having a crush on me, along with what I think a romantic relationship with him would be like. As I'm processing the feeling of disgust building in my gut, he reaches up behind me and strokes my ponytail. I nope the fuck out, flick my cigarette into the yard, and go back inside without a word. I wish I could say that that's the end of it. I had more or less shoved the ponytail incident to the back of my mind and tried to forget about it with some success. As it got warmer, my lawn needed to be mowed, and Randy offered to mow it for me on a continuing basis for $10 per time, which, as a server bringing home between $50 and $200 a night on top of the $10 an hour I was making at my other job, I thought it was a steal. I didn't have to sweat my tits off mowing, and he got 2 packs of smokes or so. I happily agreed. Randy mowed my lawn a couple of times without incident, but one day I had decided to go out shopping with a friend from work because it was my day off from both jobs. I should have mentioned earlier that my house is old as fuck, meaning that the insulation in the top floor is complete shit. Consequently, when I'm getting ready in the summer, I'll often leave my shirt on the bathroom counter with the window and the door open and do my hair and makeup wearing only jeans and a bra. Combine this with the fact that from the bottom of the stairs you could see directly into my bathroom upstairs, and you have the perfect storm. So on this day, I was doing what I had mentioned above and getting ready only in a bra and jeans. I could hear the lawnmower outside. Eventually the lawnmower cuts out, but I don't really register it because I'm deeply engrossed in my eyeliner. Eventually the hairs on the back of my neck start to stand up, and I know that I am being watched. I turn my head to the right, and motherfucking Roger is standing at the front of my stairs, shirtless, leering at me. I slam the bathroom door shut and scream at him to get the fuck out. He apologizes, and I think he left, so I put on my lipstick and tug my shirt over my head, heart pounding and shaking like a leaf. I round the corner from the kitchen into the dining room, and Roger is standing there, perusing the bookshelf that I have in the dining room. I gasped in astonishment, and he looks over at me, still wearing that shit-eating grin. He proceeds to tell me that he had been pounding on the door, and when I didn't answer, he decided to come in and investigate. I hunt down my wallet and hand him a $10 bill and tell him that he needs to leave, and I shit you not, this huge sweaty dude still grinning says,
"You know, you don't need that shirt, and your lipstick is beautiful. How about a tip for doing such a good job on your lawn?"
He taps his cheek with one finger and suggests I kiss him with my beautiful lipstick. I blink a couple of times, astound, then regain my composure and say, "Here's a tip. Don't just walk into other people's houses without an invitation. Now get the fuck out." Roger looks annoyed but leaves all the same. Fast forward a couple of weeks, my best friend and I are standing on the porch smoking a cigarette, and out of nowhere, Helen comes over, asking for a smoke. I hand her a couple, and she decided to stay for one. She starts talking to me about how Roger had been cheating on her with a 17-year-old while she was locked up, and had gotten the 17-year-old pregnant. I am nothing short of dumbfounded and horrified. She thanks me for the smokes and leaves, and I avoid both of them like the plague. They moved out a few weeks later, and the week after they left, the cops came banging on my door with drug dogs twice. Once looking for Roger on statutory rape and drug charges, and once looking for Helen on a drug-related arrest warrant. So Roger, Helen, let's never meet again. When I was 10 for my birthday, I got a baby doll. I would play with the doll, and I even gave it a name. The doll's name was Daisy. I would feed it, change its diaper, and put it to sleep. A few years later, I was looking through boxes, unpacking my things. As I was rummaging through the boxes, I found Daisy. She looked beat up and dirty, but she worked pretty well. I never played with Daisy, so I thought, I guess I'll give her to a donation center. I cleaned her, dressed her, and brushed her hair so that she looked brand new. I sat down the doll and went to look for the ribbon that goes to her hair. Once I found the ribbon, I went to pick up the doll when I noticed something strange. You see, the doll had a voice box, which if you pushed a certain button, she would say, "Mommy, Mommy," or "Mommy, I love you, Mommy." It was strange because I heard the doll in a soft voice say, "I love you, Mommy." I knew that I didn't push the button, so I thought it must be broken. That night I sat the doll on the shelf, sat on the couch, and watched a movie, then went to bed. I usually sleep like a baby, but for some reason I couldn't sleep. So I laid there in bed, eyes closed in the pitch black room. It was quiet for a while, but then I heard something. It sounded like the doll again, but I knew it was broken, so I ignored it. I woke up again that night and checked my phone. It was 3:05 in the morning, still dark. Nobody else was going to be awake for a while. Just as I thought I was going back to sleep, I heard it, the doll again, and this time it wasn't a soft voice. It was a louder voice, but still a little girl's voice. As I was going to get up to turn the doll off, I felt like I was being held there in the bed. It felt as if someone was holding me there, forcing me to stay there against my will. I couldn't move a single muscle. All I could do was listen to the doll say things I've never heard it say before. Things like, "Mommy, Mommy, why won't you play with me? Do you hate me, Mommy? Do you want me to die? Why? Why?" It just started screaming the same words over and over again. All of a sudden, the doll stopped and it was quiet again. And then I hear a loud thud. I jumped out of bed and ran into the living room where I saw the doll sitting on the floor. But it didn't look as if the doll fell. It looked as if the doll was taken off the shelf and placed there carefully on the floor. I have had enough of this doll and threw it outside. The next morning, I was getting ready to go to school, but when I went out the door, I saw the doll sitting there on the step, looking at me. I had finally had enough and took the doll to my backyard to burn the damn thing. I put the doll in the fire pit and then covered the doll with gasoline and lit a match to it, and as the doll was burning, it said one last thing.
"I hate you, Mommy,"
in a distorted voice. After the doll had burned, I took the melted plastic and the burned clothes and threw it all in the trash can by the road and sighed in relief. But I was scared for life. I never did play with dolls ever again, and I learned that even a child's toy is scary, and her name was Daisy. When I was 18, I worked at a local coffee shop in my hometown, and I often worked there picking up shifts and closing 6 nights a week. I had lots of regulars and lots of randoms, but other than that, maybe a few awkward orders, I never really had a problem with a customer being inappropriate or out of hand. This night was already really stressful for me, as it was Halloween, and I was a little bummed to be closing while my friends were out and about. But I had friends to go to a house that my friends rented right down the street after work with some pastries and Red Bull, so I really didn't mind too much. It was about 9:45 and I was already ready to close right at 10. It had been dead since about 8 and all I had to do was a final register count. Everything was clean and I was reading a book to pass the time. Trying not to watch the clock, our counter is like a bar counter, long with the register near the door at the closed end, and with one far end open for us to go in and out of, right near the door to our back room. A man walked in the front door. He looked like he was in his mid-20s. He was black, had on a big hoodie, and was wearing sweatpants that sagged down, so I could see the waistbands of 2 different pairs of gym shorts underneath. I'm a young white female, but I have no fear of people, and I'm not racist, so I didn't bat an eyelash when he walked in with one hand in a hoodie pocket and the other in the pocket of one of the pairs of gym shorts. Men of all races wear clothes like that and carry themselves that way, at least where I live. So with no concern, I greeted him and asked him how he was and what he was thinking of ordering. He took his time responding, but wasn't looking at the menu or at our chalkboard with seasonal drink offers. He was looking at the front door. He took about a minute, then turned to me and asked my name. I often had male customers ask this, so I told him and then asked again what he was looking to order. He began to ask me more questions about me and my job. He asked if I liked it. I responded thinking maybe he wanted a job application and gave him a very short version of how I felt. It was almost 9:50. I kept checking my phone thinking I just wanted to make his drink so I could clean up again and meet my friends. He nodded, saying he thought I liked my job, which I thought was strange, but again, didn't think about it. I agreed again. He then started to ask about the shifts I worked. I figured he had sympathy that it was Halloween, and I gave him a vague answer. He then asked why I didn't work on Thursdays. My heart jumped. I didn't see that one coming from a mile away. I struggled to respond, and he continued and asked if Sunday mornings were better than Wednesday nights. At this point, I broke into a nervous laughter and smiles, asking him if he was looking to work for the coffee shop and that we needed help. He stopped smiling at this point, and his hand in the hoodie pocket made an abrupt move to the very inside pair of the gym shorts, basically so that he would be grabbing himself. He didn't quite reach in all the way, and I felt like I was going to pass out. I asked him to order or leave, as the end of our business day was almost there, and that I needed to clean and lock up. At this point, I grabbed my cell phone and kept it in my hand, thinking how can I dial 911 and not have him begin to molest himself in front of me, or whatever he planned on doing. He began to sort of lean on the counter and ask me questions. He asked me where I lived, did I have a boyfriend, what were my plans for that night. I was trying hard not to cry and tried my best to lie through more vague answers, hoping he would go away if I just didn't freak out. He began to move away from the register, still leaning on the counter, hands in his pants, towards the open end of the bar. I began to back as far towards the front door as possible, but that end had no opening and was so high, I couldn't jump it without considerable effort and climbing over an espresso machine. The only other exit I could think of was our narrow drive-through window. Clutching my phone, I asked him what he wanted. For some reason, he stopped. He stood up and looked towards the front door, then turned to look at the clock behind him. I took the chance to start writing a text message to my friend, and I said if I'm not at your place in 10 minutes, call the police. He caught me sending the text and asked me who I was texting. I told him my boyfriend, and his face became something that I will never forget. His eyes blazed and he was still as stone. He calmly told me to throw my cell phone across the floor, specifically telling me to try and throw it to the drive-thru. I had to really toss it about 9 feet away. After, he began to scream, making his way again down the counter. He asked me how I could have a boyfriend when he's been watching me at work for the last 2 months as often as possible, and he had never seen a man drop me off or pick me up at work. He pointed to the side of the building that I had parked on and said he knew I parked my blue Toyota there earlier, and not to lie to him. I asked him to leave, beginning to cry. He began to describe my work shifts to a T, when I came in, when I left, how I smoked across the street on break. He told me that he knew I only drank the Diet Coke that we sold, and that I always cranked my music up when I started my car. At that point, he pulled a small gun out of the gym shorts and waved it around as he said that. I was stupid to lie to him. He knew it all. He was going between enraged and laughing, as if he couldn't believe that I didn't want to talk to him or that it was funny that I was scared. I offered him all the money in the register, and he laughed again, like hysterically, and then again went still. He said,
I'm not here for any money, Marina. I'm not here for a job. I think you know what I'm here for.
I'm sobbing now, and it made him either frustrated or sympathetic, and he began to say how I just needed to calm down, that he was just really excited to meet me. He still had one hand down near his dick and began to fondle himself, holding the gun with the other hand, and about 3 feet away from the opening in the bar. I asked him again to please leave. When he didn't move, I asked him what I did to him and why this was happening. He began to speak, saying that I was really pretty. He was continuing to talk when all of a sudden my friend walked in the door with his friends. The man quickly put the gun in his hoodie pocket, so quickly that only 2 of my friends noticed it. He ran for the door, pushing past my friends, and disappeared into the night. I threw up as soon as he was gone, and 2 of my friends ran out after him, but didn't gain on him enough and didn't see where he went to. I quit my job the next day and called the police. There was never any follow-up, and I still wonder about what the fuck did or didn't happen to me that night. Hey guys, thank you all for watching my video. And well guys, my channel has finally hit the 500 mark, and I have you guys to thank for that. I feel like every single time I upload a video, I'm always thanking people. That must be really annoying for you guys. I'm sorry about that, but I have to do it here. Quite honestly, guys, I never thought I would reach 500 subscribers. I think I said the same thing about getting 300 subscribers as well, but damn, I mean, seriously, thank you all for subscribing. Thank you all for watching. You guys are awesome, in all honesty. And I have Comsicink, Killer Orange Cat, and Blue Spooky to thank for that. So seriously, guys, thank you all. And thank you to all my subscribers who made this happen as well. You guys are awesome, and I love you. And now, guys, since I hit the 500 mark, I do have a very special video planned for this. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's going to be a big surprise. I'm actually really excited about it. I can't wait to actually get down and dirty and do this video. And it's going to be awesome, so look forward to that, guys. And a couple of shout outs here. As always, thank you Comsicink for the thumbnail. All your thumbnails are really awesome, and they bring out this channel more. And I actually came across this channel called Night Terror Films. I recently just got flabbergasted by the freaking openings that this channel has. He does scary stories too, just like me. And I was really impressed by the fantastic openings that he has to his videos. They really set the tone and atmosphere for it. And that's something that I never would have thought to do in my channel. So give him a look-see, see if you like him. And, well, guys, as always, thank you all for watching. And just remember, the best ideas always come out of nightmares.